Hey there, health fans. This is Travis Robbins from the Physical Resilience Outlook, and I'm here with Nick and Dan, my trusty sidekicks, to help you live better. So, exercise or movement or test, whatever you want to call it, number two is the step. So, Nick, stairs pretty important for people to be able to do as they get older. Sometimes people say no, right? What is the situation where someone says, steps, don't need to do those anymore?
I live on a one floor house. I don't
There
need
you
that.
go. Like one of the number one things that a patient says, "Yeah, I made the move. I got a ranch, so I don't have any more steps." And we're do like the face palm, like, "Oh my God, that's the only movement you get during the day. We need
Now
you
let's
to."
not forget Katie's one patient one time.
What was that?
One of her patients, she said, bought a two-story house to make sure she had to keep doing steps.
Wow, I've had a
Yeah.
lot of smart patients in the last 20 years. That might be the smartest. Let's talk about that. I mean, it's just a kind of a mindset shift where it's going against convention. Nick could talk for the next hour about going against convention, but typically, if you see a lot of people running one way, no matter what you're doing in life, it might be a good idea to look the other way and try to see, maybe there's a better way to do this. So, it's one of the most straightforward tests, but we'll have Dan go over it. In the pro, what is the step test or the stair step test look like, Dan?
So the stair test for us is starting at the youngest age group. It's stepping up onto a 20-inch surface. Um, there is some research around that height, and just for like overall strength, if you can do that, you can probably do anything throughout your day. And then we have everybody doing 5 repetitions on each leg just to simulate more climbing a flight of stairs and not just testing a single step at a time.
Got it. So 20 inches, if you've not stepped on top of something that's 20 inches tall in a while, that might be a little bit unnerving. A standard step is what, Nick? About,
6 to 8 inches.
yeah, so you'll see some variation in that, but 6 to 8 inches. And then on 20, that's more of like a standard chair, right? Isn't a standard chair 17, 18, something like
17.
that? Yeah. So a little bit higher than a standard chair. So at home, if you don't have an exact 20-inch box, and this is for the age group of 20 to 39, we expect this to be pretty easy for you to do that 5 times on each side. And one, you got to have the ability to do it. So you have to have the balance and the strength to actually physically perform the activity, but also from the physical therapy standpoint, when we're watching someone do it, we're going to look at their form. And it's like, well, form, it's not like we're doing hang cleans here. It's just a step. Well, body positioning can kind of pull out certain weaknesses. In terms of form, Nick, what are some things that we might look at to where people would get some points off from that step? Even if they could do the activity 5 times on each side, where are they going to get points off?
Well, one of the things I'm going to say it's more of a compensation you'll see is that back leg that's down, they're pushing off their toes. So as far as like the description of the exercise, you want to make sure to actually try and lift the toes up on that back foot, like the so that you just touching with the heel so you don't get that like propulsion coming off the floor.
Yeah, that could be a little bit. So what Nick is talking about is to do the test, put one foot on top of the box, the other foot that's on the floor. You have to kind of raise your toes up, so you're not kind of pushing off to do the job that the foot that is up on the box should be doing. But aside from that, it's pretty straightforward test to complete. When would we stop this test, Dan? If you're doing it with somebody, when do you stop it?
If they just appear really unbalanced, you'd be worried about them falling trying it out, or if they have a lot of pain anywhere with trying it.
Got it. Okay. So, I guess more mechanically, Nick, we can talk a little bit about that toe execution, but as a physical therapist, when you're looking at it, what are some common compensations that people might make that would indicate they have a weakness or a future inability, even if they can do it now, a future problem with this movement?
Caving in of the knee. So if that knee that's up on the stair now, or step, excuse me, if that really starts diving to your midline, then that's going to usually be a problem from the ankle, the knee, the hip. Something's got to give there.
Got it. Okay. And Dan, let's just talk a little bit about the scoring. So you have age brackets of 20 to 39, ages 40 to 59, ages 60 to 79, and then 80 plus. Those are going to be pretty common age brackets that you'll see with all of these tests. But for this step exercise, in terms of the scoring, you would get a total of 5 out of 5. Well, describe what a 5 out of 5 looks like.
Yeah. So for the first 2 age brackets, 5 out of 5 would be a 20-inch step, and then 5 reps on each leg. Once you get to the next age bracket, 60 to 79, it goes to a 16-inch surface. And for a perfect score, it'd be 5 reps a leg again. And then for 80 plus, it's a 14-inch step, and then 5 reps on each side.
Okay. So that kind of speaks to what we were talking about in the last episode, where it's okay, what are the goals when you get up into your, 80th year of life? Do we expect you to be able to get up onto a 20-inch step? It'd be great if you could, but if you can navigate a 14-inch step, which is significantly lower, again, I encourage you guys to try this at home. If you get it significantly, you're still doing pretty good, because a standard step is, 6 to 8. So if you can do 14, then when someone who's 80 then encounters a set of stairs, it's not a, stop all activity kind of thing. It's like, well, I just can't go upstairs because I don't navigate that. If you can do a 14 step 5 times on each side, pretty good form, pretty good balance, and you're going to be able to tackle a standard step pretty easily. So Nick, let's talk about why this activity is important. We've talked a ton about just being able to negotiate steps. That's a really common thing. But what are other things that would motivate someone to be like, yeah, I should really focus in on my ability to do a higher step than just a standard step, because it's going to get me what as I age?
So really, I'm looking, I think where Daniel said too, as far as just like even the strength of this, right? So the higher that you can step up, like your legs have to be pretty strong to do that. And if and if your legs are strong, I mean, you generally have to be doing something to keep your legs strong to begin with. So if this is looking pretty good, it's probably setting up, and again, not to say for upper body strength necessarily, but at least lower body strength, that's going to be great. That's going to be very important for fall prevention. For if you do fall, hey, you probably are less likely to have osteopenia, osteoporosis, sarcopenia. So like when we're talking bone or muscle loss, the chances of any of those things are much lower if you just maintain that strength.
Yeah, so just kind of catching in on metrics that you would do similar to when we talked about you go to your doctor to take your blood pressure. If it's high, they're going to be some kind of intervention. For us as physical therapists, movement experts, if you're a certain age, you can't even get your foot up onto a step. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, Dan. Let's say you're in the age bracket, well, let's take 40 to 59. And so you're someone's 40, 59. We put you in front of a 20-inch step, and you don't have the physical ability to get your foot up onto that step. What kind of problems might that indicate? Or what are things that you would look at addressing, Dan?
To get their foot up there, it's probably more of like a balance or a mobility issue. So the programming for them would probably look a little different than someone who can get their foot up there and just doesn't have the strength. They'll probably have more stretching and balance work to do.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I did this test with my mother recently, who's 75, and I put the step in front of her 16-inch step, and she just flat refused. So I'm not going to do that. I don't feel I have the balance or the strength or the ability to do that. And I had to drop her down to a 12-inch step where she was more comfortable. So that was kind of eye-opening to me. It's like some people, like a simple step that maybe, yes, we're younger, we might take that for granted, but as you age, if that's not something you do regularly, you're going to lose that ability to do that. So even as just kind of a check-in every once in a while, again, we're kind of trying to promote this as the orthopedic test that you should do. You're never going to go to your doctor's office. They're going to put a 20-inch step in front of you, and then the doctor's going to say, let me see how you do this 5 times. And nor should it be. I just don't think that's, in their capabilities, or even just like I wouldn't start running blood tests on people if they come in for physical therapy. So this is why we're trying to kind of come up with this testing to make sure that this stuff does happen at least occasionally through the aging process. So Nick, it is common, like I said, with my mother, who's 75, you just kind of lose this as you age. So why do people lose the ability to do higher than standard step?
Because they don't do it.
Yeah,
It really is that simple a lot of times, right? And just like you said, it's that fear, it's that, wow, I haven't done this in a decade, whatever it might be, and you're like, you just freeze.
Yeah. So I think we've kind of explained the negative consequences of this. If you're someone that cannot do this, then you probably don't have good lower extremity strength. And we've talked about balance and reaction time and that kind of stuff. But if you start to cut this out of your life for long periods of time, Dan, what are other things that you're probably going to struggle doing? Think of it in terms of activities. Like when we ask our patient, hey, what do I want to do when I'm older? I know I asked my father, who was also 75, and he said, yeah, I really want to be able to hunt when I get older. And I made him think about, okay, what are the things that you have to do in order to go hunting? And from that perspective, we had a conversation about that. But as people get older, if they don't do this, what do you think, Dan, or other things that they're not going to be able to do?
Yeah, anytime they go out and have to go to any multi-story building, maybe a doctor's office, anything like that, they're always going to try to take the elevator. Um, and then if that's not working that day, then they're kind of going to get forced into doing the steps. Hunting's a good example. If you want to kind of walk around, even like hiking, trying to get outside and do more active stuff like that, you're going to have to step up onto things at times.
Yeah, even like bending and squatting. I mean, in any kind of single limb activity, I mean, even if you're holding on to a railing, you're still doing a significant amount of work on one foot. So if you completely eliminate stairs, I don't know that there's a lot of other opportunities that you wouldn't have to force into your activity routine that are single limb. I can't even really think of anything right now besides
One thing,
stairs.
one
Go
thing
ahead.
quick, Travis. So this is one thing we're working on with one of my patients right now. She recently had a knee replacement, and going up and down a curb because there's no hand support, anything like that. She's finally, after about 2 months, feels comfortable with that. So just like going to the store, she's like, yeah, I could walk over to where it's flat, which is now I have to walk another 50 yards, or I can just step up and go right in from there. So things like that that are just seemingly simple, but still a big deal that's kind of just right out in the open for you too.
Yeah. So equipment that you need for this, this is one of the pieces of equipment that is a little bit variable in terms of the testing. You're gonna need something to step up onto. Again, a standard stair is 6 to 8 inches. That's not gonna be quite enough for most people. A standard chair, somewhere around 17 inches, that can change. You might have some benches around, like park benches. You might have to carry like a tape measure with you to try to find something that is in the size range that you're looking for. But if you work fairly effortlessly, and I think you're going to find it pretty easy to find something that is going to step onto. If you're going to do this at home, make sure it's stable. Obviously, if you have chairs at home and you have a hard surface where a chair might slide, then you want to push that up against a wall so that it doesn't slide on you. We want to be standing on something that's stable. In our offices, we have boxes that are specifically made to do this test. But equipment you need is just something that you can step up onto. And Dan, let's talk in terms of the programming. So we'll take an example of someone who is, let's say, 40 to 59, and let's say they can't do the 20-inch step. That's just something that either is limited by balance or mobility issue, and they have to get down into a 16-inch step, and they can really only do like one good on each side, and that gets you to like a 2.5 in that system. What is some programming going to look like for someone who struggles to get up onto a 16-inch step?
So they'll probably still have some type of step up in their program. It might be just to a standard step and for more repetitions or holding some weight, some way to start strengthening that. We'll have them do like sit to stands or squats, bridges, just a lot of things that are going to strengthen up the lower body.
And in terms of basic improvement, I mean, that's something that's good. Like actually doing the test, just practicing the test is important. Let's say someone does get better at this and improves. What are the positive side effects of doing this as we get older?
It's just going to be like increased function overall, like the ease at which you'll be able to do all your daily activities around the house or out in the community are going to be a lot better. You'll be less fatigued going up a flight of stairs. Probably just have better energy levels throughout the day.
Yeah, anything to add to that, Nick?
I think some of it is just the confidence too. We're saying like, okay, even the example for your mom, right? Of hey, she's like, I'm not even putting my foot up there. Not happening, right? That I think can go a long ways for people too.
Yeah, I think improving, this is the physical resilience outlook, right? I would say that being able to do difficult things from a place where you're not even willing to do it would improve your confidence in your physical abilities, right? And it might seem kind kind of to someone who's, you know, in their 30s and 40s, like how much confidence can that build? I would say you haven't worked a lot with people who are in their 60s and 70s. And seeing, you know, one of my favorite things in the clinic is to have somebody straight bar deadlift that is in their 60s or 70s. I even had a patient that he was in his mid 40s and he just hadn't done it in 20 years and he had terrible back pain. And I remember the first time he started doing some straight bar deadlifts, and it just like he gained so much confidence in his spine. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe I was able to do that after this terrible spine injury and surgery. And now I have the confidence to do other things. And you stop cutting things out of your life. You know, when you have pain or decrease in mobility, decrease in strength and balance and confidence in the ability to do things, you just start cutting stuff out. It's just like, yeah, I don't really travel anymore. I don't go on long car rides, so I don't see my family. I don't go to my, you know, grandson or granddaughter's sporting activities because it's uneven surfaces and my balance is not that great. If you can improve in these things, then that can improve your confidence. And there's a ton of value in that, I think. All right. Anything else on the step? This is one of our more straightforward ones. We're pretty strict on doing steps. I will leave kind of at the end of this. There's one thing that Nick told me once, and when you encounter steps, one, it's a privilege, and not everybody can do steps. You know, and there's somebody out there that if you can fly up and down the stairs, they would love to do that. And it seems like a silly little thing, but whenever I have the opportunity to take stairs or to take an elevator, I always take the stairs because one, it's just a reminder that I'm physically able to do it, which is nice. And two, it's an opportunity to introduce mobility and strength and balance into my routine. So Nick told me a long time ago when we were going up the stairs once, he said, you either need to run up the stairs or you need to take them two at a time. And I was like, wow, that's really smart. If I can run upstairs or I can take them two at a time forever, you know, provided I don't have some kind of injury that restricts that, but we'll get back to that after that injury. Then as I get into my 80s and 90s, going up the stairs, if I just never stop running up or taking them two at a time, I'm probably going to do pretty well at taking a standard step when I'm that old. So I'll leave you guys with that. And thanks for listening. And here is to better aging through better understanding.